Welcome to the Pre Nup, the wedding-obsessed podcast designed to help you plan your dream day. I'm your host, Adriana, and each week I'm joined by the industry's top professionals, celebs, influencers, and friends who are sharing their best tips, advice, and mistakes they've made so you don't have to. The Pre Nup is a Love Stories TV podcast. If you're having trouble getting your creative juices flowing for your wedding or struggling to make your wedding feel personal, you're going to want to talk to our guest today. You may know Shannon Lange from her TikTok, where she combs through the fine details of the best weddings, dissects them, and highlights inspiration for her many followers. I'm so excited to talk personalization and details today with the fabulous Shannon Lange. Shannon, welcome to the Pre Nup.
That was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I follow your Substack. I follow you on all the socials.
Thank you.
You're really good at something that I think is very underrated in weddings. And it's the fact that you don't have to be a bajillionaire and just throw money at things to make it feel special and important.
Yes, that is like my number one thing. If I could get one thing across to every person getting married, it's like you do not need to stress about the budget second. Not that it's not so important, but it's not going to be the thing that makes or breaks it being a good wedding.
Right.
You know, people get so wrapped up in the numbers. And I know we were talking, it's like sometimes the train just leaves the station, you get engaged, you start planning, and you get these numbers flying at you, and you're like, whoa.
It's scary.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
And I think it turns off a lot of people from a wedding, which makes me sad because I'm like, no, don't let that be the thing.
Totally. So one thing before we pop into the wedding of it all. In your bio and your Substack, because, you know, when I have a special guest coming on, I want to come through and I want to just make sure I know them. And
research.
You and I have chit-chatted before, and I was like, instantly, I love this girl. Like, she's so cool and down to earth and fun.
Oh.
But something that really stuck with me about you is that you were a Nora Ephron, Nancy Meyers girl.
Yes.
And that to me is just like quintessential, cozy, personal style, chic, but like it's very, very personalized chic, I would say.
Yes. I have so many thoughts on this that extend beyond weddings with the Nancy Meyers aesthetic kind of becoming this trend. And I always say this, and I've said it a bunch on my TikTok, but Nancy Meyers, it's a feeling.
Yes. Yep.
And it's not what couch or what, paint color. Those things add to a feeling. And I think when we return to those comfort movies, those rom-coms that are such cozy classics, it's because they're making us feel this this exhale, this warm embrace.
Yes. Like when I go back and watch Father of the Bride, do I want all of the things from a 90s movie incorporated into a wedding? But it does feel timely in a way that it's timeless.
Yes. God, that movie. I referenced it probably so I got married in Pasadena down the street from the Father of the Bride house.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, if I was having a stressful day, I'm like, we need to walk by the bank's house. And you're just looking at it. You're like, okay.
Is it still intact?
Okay. You're going to die. The owners bought it in 1999, I think.
Okay.
And they got married there.
Stop.
And it has remained in pristine condition, down to the pansies in the drive. And they say people get engaged there all the time. They have kids.
Shannon, I didn't know that.
It's unbelievable.
That's a big piece of pop culture that I've missed out on. But that is,
and they decorate it for every holiday, so cozy, so homey.
I'm so glad that the people who bought it have the appreciation for it and understand, because it's so special to so many of us.
I know.
And I think that's what you get right in your content. You know how connected people are to not only these rom-coms that we grew up with and love, but especially in wedding planning, wanting to have that special detail.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. I think what we're all kind of looking for is that entry point to our own version of a wedding. And I think that's why I started looking at the Vogue weddings to begin with, because I was like, I don't even really have any frame of reference. My parents, they're high school sweethearts. They had a tiny wedding, immediate family. So my mom was like, I don't really know where to begin.
Yeah.
And it's what I always do is just deep dive into information. And that was all right, let's just start at the top. We don't need to be scared of these gajillion-dollar weddings. That is not my budget. That's not my reality. But if we're going to borrow ideas and inspo, let's go to the best.
Absolutely. And you're really good at extracting and dissecting details from it that you can like you said, draw inspo from, but maybe not carbon copy, which is what you want anyway. You don't want to verbatim copy something.
No. And I feel like we've all been to those things where you're like, oh, I can tell that someone's planner just said, they were like, you do whatever.
Yes.
And not that those are ever bad. And for some people, it does not matter. It's like, I want to be inserted into my wedding day, have fun.
Totally.
And I don't want to think about these things. But for a lot of people, like I wanted to obsess over every detail because that's fun to me.
Yes. and you can feel it. To your point, you really can, because I will say I loved my own wedding. This is not a knock to it at all. I got married in 2021. I'm coming on my 3-year anniversary, actually.
Wait, when?
November 26th is my anniversary.
Oh, I'm November 12th. November bride.
I love a November wedding.
It's cozy.
It's very cozy. My day was very windy. And it was not cozy.
Okay.
So much so that we really couldn't even take any pictures outside. I'll have to show you. There's one of like my veil flying away, and I'm like,
all good. Yeah.
Frigid, freezing. But I will say my ceremony, I had a Catholic ceremony in a beautiful church that my husband and I both really wanted to get married in. It's a gorgeous, it's a cathedral in Philadelphia, and it's stunning. But the priest, who I often talk shit on this podcast, so I'm going to stop calling him by his name and call him Father Bill.
Okay.
So Father Bill was like this nasty man, and he really made it feel so disconnected. He was so focused on, because in a Catholic ceremony, it's not just a ceremony, it's a sacrament.
Mm-hmm.
So he was very focused on the sacrament and really not so much like the fact that, that we were this couple getting married. And he couldn't have cared less. And while the photos were beautiful and like, you know, our family was there and like some of our family did readings, which was really nice. And I wouldn't have changed it. I want to say that. Yeah. But I have done weddings at churches that are like small and maybe not lavish or beautiful, but the priest or the pastor or whoever, not even at churches.
Right.
They take the time to get to know the couple, and you feel it. And
Did your priest not do that? Did he not like meet with you guys before?
I'm going to tell you a funny story.
Okay.
He did meet with us before. He did meet with us for the first time when we said we were going to get married there, because we had to present to prove that we, you know, made our sacraments and the whole night. Are you Catholic?
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. I did all this.
Okay. Yeah. Irish Catholic?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you get it. So we go in with Father Bill, and he asks us a bunch of questions, and he's like, do you two live together? And we did. But before we went in, I said, Jake, we go to church every Sunday, and we don't live together. Those are the rules.
In fact, I barely know you.
This is an arranged marriage, okay? I don't know this man.
Right.
So we sit down, and he asks a few questions. And do you two live together? So I say, no. And Jake says nothing. He goes along with it. And he pages someone. Sister Mary Charles, get in here. So
this is like in the church office.
This is in the church office.
So now the church ladies skittering in.
Yeah, so Sister Mary Charles comes walking in, and she's like, hi, Father. He's like, Sister Mary Charles, these two are very special to me. Do you want to know why? And she's like, sure. Oh, no. He's like, because they're not living in sin. They don't live together. And he looks at us, he's like, do you know how many couples I see come in who live together? And I'm looking at Jane, I'm like,
yeah,
that's
heathens.
Disgusting. I can't believe someone would do that. It's so gross.
Yeah,
why would they do that? Then he goes on, do you go to church every Sunday? And the rule was before we left, yes. And Jake goes, not every Sunday.
He's starting to feel the guilt creeping in.
Sunday, okay? We go at Christmas and Easter.
Right, of course.
And I'm like, what did you do? Why did you do that? And from then on, Father Bill, oh no. And he just didn't like us from then.
I thought you were going to say he referenced you guys not living together during the ceremony, because when everyone is like, oh, okay.
No, thank God, like that never happened. But he wanted us to do a confession before the ceremony. He was like, you need to be at church every Sunday. It's very important. I was like,
it's like, okay,
get over it. So that long-winded story.
These are crucial wedding planning hours on Sunday, by the way, because we're like not working and we have limited window to talk about this.
Exactly. So yeah, just to your point, like the ceremony for, especially in a religious, it's not something that people typically throw a lot of money toward, but it can be really personal.
Well, okay, I have two things to say about that. Number one, and we ended up doing a church wedding as well, and we're both Catholic, so it was, not a big deal. It was an easy choice to make, but we were like, also, indoors, gorgeous. Don't have to do decorations. Sound system's already set up. There's an organ, music. We're like, okay, we don't have to worry about like a lot of stuff. It's kind of taken care of. So it's a cost-effective choice. And we had a last-minute priest that we would have been like, oh my God, we got this amazing kind of like famous priest in Pasadena. He's Irish, my whole family. I was like, oh, my dad's going to weep. This is going to be great. And he's like, so I have to go to the Holy Land. And I was like, okay. I mean, like, what are we going to say to that? Like, could you wait, maybe? He'd also like just come off of like, he's like, I just got through cancer and like, this is my time and we're doing a big trip. And I'm like, right. But our wedding, like,
I'm
did
like
you
sort of
forget?
getting married.
Yeah. And we ended up, it was fine. But our priest did a good job. But one of the best weddings I ever went to was a Catholic ceremony. And I know we're going to talk about, like standout ceremony moments and stuff. But this one I tell everyone because the priest had each person write a letter to him. He said, write a letter to me about why you want to marry your partner. And I don't think they knew that he was going to do this during the homily, but he read excerpts, which is so nice because, you don't do vows in the traditional, like, I mean, I guess you could ask them to do that, but you're not expressing those vows like we see at a non-religious ceremony or a Christian ceremony or whatever. And so he pulled out his favorite parts and read it, and it was the first time they were hearing it. People were weeping. I was like, it was full. I know, I just gave myself goosebumps.
Oh my God.
But it was so beautiful. And he obviously had like a very nice relationship with this couple, but it was like hearing from them, but they didn't have to worry about being nervous or jittery because I know a lot of people don't want to do vows for that reason. They're like, I'm too embarrassed or I want to do them privately. All great choices. But I was like, that is the best hack because it was so personal.
Yes.
And it was so good. And it was still like they got their Catholic ceremony, which I thought was just like the best hack.
That's really special. And because, I mean, you grew up Catholic, you know, like some priests, some churches are a little bit more flexible, but they can be really strict and rigid. Exactly. So to have someone take that kind of care and implement that is...
It was so beautiful.
That's really, really nice.
I've given that story like to so many people when they're like, I don't know, we don't know what we want to do. We don't know what to tell our officiant.
That's a good thing, even for secular.
Yes.
Yeah.
My husband just got asked to officiate a wedding, which is crazy because this couple met at our wedding. So we officially started a wedding chain.
Oh my God.
Let's hope something good happens at theirs and another couple gets together. But
wait, I'm obsessed.
I know it's like his old high school friend. I think he's known her for so many years. And then his college roommate, like best friend.
How cute is that?
I know.
Oh
it's
my
crazy.
gosh, that's really sweet.
It's really special. They just got engaged. But he was like, I'm going to do the letter thing. I mean, because it's such a good idea. It's like, it grounds everything.
It's brilliant. Take that with you, listening brides. So, okay, I want to talk about like personal weddings and stuff,
Yes.
but I first want to go into the way that I found you is you dissect these weddings. You do Vogue weddings, and that's what I want to focus on just for the time being. We'll put a pin in the others because I do fancy myself a pop culture junkie.
Of course.
And I want to know, of all the weddings that you've come across that this year, let's say, what has been your favorite and what was your favorite detail of the 2024 weddings?
Okay, there's been so many good ones this year. I had to like take a little breather after my own wedding.
Yes.
Which I recommend.
What year did you get married?
I got married in 2022.
Okay.
And it was just like, to go right into looking at more weddings, it's like, well, now I'm starting to have regret. So give yourself a breather after the wedding.
Oh my God,
I know I'd had to. So now it's fun to return to them and look at them with like a normal eye. I feel like Vogue Weddings does a good job of normal people that have crazy lives and, crazy celebrations. They might not be famous.
Yes.
Or they're like deep in the art world and you're like, I've never heard of this person, but whoa, look at their property and Amagansett. And then you have like celebrity weddings. This year, I loved Charlie Puth and Brooke Puth's wedding actually a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Loved.
Beautiful.
First of all, things I loved about that one, the little pops of red, the martini cart. She did the Tiffany bone cuff around her bouquet. I was like, that is such a good idea.
Oh my
I can't believe I've never seen that.
It's those little details that stand
that's like,
out.
now it's your wedding. It's a bracelet that you're going to wear all the time, forever. And it was on your bouquet. That's so special. Elizabeth Reeser, Esme from Twilight, the mom, she did a Italian... Where was she? She was somewhere in Italy, and it was the most intimate. I think there were 6 people. It was like Sarah Paulson. It was a teeny, teeny, teeny wedding, but the photos were insane. It was so beautiful. that's like great one if you're needing like a small celebration inspiration. Ben Platt's Noah Galvin's wedding. That was so good.
That was beautiful.
Noah's late father's art being blown up as the dance floor.
Oh,
are you kidding me?
oh my gosh.
Oh my God. That's so good.
Let's say someone sees that. They see, his father's an artist and his art is across the dance floor and this is like this special thing. They want to incorporate something like that. Like, where does your mind go to draw inspiration to do something for, the average?
The normal person.
Yeah,
You're not blowing up a dance floor. I know. Well, to me, it's like that is something a lot of people have to deal with. Like, we had to deal with it, a parent not being part of the celebration because they're no longer with you. And I think there are ways to honor that person in a really happy way. Like, I thought it was so special how it was like, this is the dance floor. Like, this is going to be just good vibes.
Yes.
And a lot of people do the, pictures and in memory section, which I love always when people do that at weddings, and family photos at weddings, I think are so special when they're out. But like my husband's mom's maiden name is Lemon. And I was like, let's do a lemon drop martini.
Adorable.
For our signature cocktail. So it's just like, that's fun. It's happy.
Yes.
That whole side of the family was like, a lemon drop. It was like just things like that where you're like, okay, now that kind of got my brain thinking about, how do I honor this person in a fun way?
Yes.
Like, it doesn't have to be all so sad or, I always it always kickstart something. Like,
it's funny that you said the drink because I had a couple do, and it was to grandmom, but they did their signature drink was grandmom's drink, and I forget what it was. It was like not a 7 and 7, but it was something like along those lines. But they called it that, and they had a little message with the signature drink
Put it on
sign,
the bar.
like
exactly.
this is grandmom's drink. Have a toast to her. I had a couple. Mom passed away not very long before the wedding, and dad and daughter danced to her favorite song, and they did a little like speech beforehand. It was emotional, but they were happy,
Yeah.
So incorporating those kinds of things.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to be, your parents don't have to be famous artists to have that sentiment behind it.
Yeah, or even just like little things on as you start designing your invitation suites or how the website looks. Like, I don't know, there's so many talented artists on Etsy that you can reach out to. And it's like maybe little inside jokes or just little things for you guys to, I don't know, sneak in there is always fun.
Yes, and even if you have like a friend from college who's maybe they're not an artist, but they're like, they're artsy, you know? You incorporate them, they feel special, you get a free design out of it. Think of those things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's where the creativity just gets really fun for me. That's the kind of stuff where it's like, okay, we can take this to a 10.
Well, speaking of taking it to a 10, you did. Your wedding, you said you got married in 2022, and your wedding was featured in Over the Moon.
Yes.
Which is iconic.
That is so fun.
It's so fun. And I want you to go into some of the details of your wedding.
Okay.
But I want to ask you about the inspiration behind a lot of it, because one of my favorite things that you did was your dress.
Yeah.
I want you to take us through. I don't even want to butcher a detail when it comes to the dress.
Well, this is classic me. So my whole life, like, I just need people to understand I'm happy to look at the Vogue weddings and be like, okay, Oscar de la Renta. I don't have an Oscar de la Renta budget. Right. Absolutely not. But I'm like, we can get crafty here. Sure. And this is why we were saying, like, I'm not DIY, but I'm like something else. I'm just maybe pushy. Crafty.
Yeah.
But like, I just knew, I was like, okay, well, there's got to be a version of this dress that I want to wear. So I actually bought my dress sight unseen off of Poshmark.
Okay, I have to ask you this, because it is crazy, but it's just so crazy that it worked.
Right.
And you were a star. Like, you looked
Thank you.
Unbelievably gorgeous. You looked like a runway model.
Oh my God.
When you went on Poshmark, how did you rid any fear of, like, God forbid, a fake, or if there's something amiss with a stain or size or whatever?
I honestly feel like I should be a Poshmark ambassador, because I'm like, here are the rules. Over $500, they will authenticate. So over $500 purchases go to Poshmark HQ.
Okay.
And they check everything out. They make sure it's exactly as listed.
Yes.
And then you get a little handwritten note in there that says, like, this has been checked by blank. Authenticated. I also, buyer beware. It's like, I was doing so much research. I was asking the seller. I also found the dress on, like, in the archives of Oscar de la Renta. So I knew it wasn't just someone taking a tag and, like, putting it on the back.
Did you find the dress first, or were you perusing Poshmark and you were like, this is stunning?
I was so deep in Poshmark, like just hours. I was feeling very hopeless about my dress because I was like, I can't really afford the stuff I like new, and I don't like what I can afford. And I was feeling like, truly, this isn't going to happen. I'm just going to have to be one of those people that's like, I liked my dress. It was great. It's one day. It's fine. And then I was searching like vintage Vera Wang, vintage Oscar de la Renta. I mean, I was Monique Lully. I was just going through and just spending the time. And then that dress caught my eye because of the shoulder bow.
Oh,
and I was like,
so
I
pretty.
love that. And I sent it to my mom, who was getting like 100 dresses a day. She was probably like, girl, pick something. Like, what do we think of this? Like, it was all over the place. She's like, love it. And then she was like, okay, you know, sleep on it. Let's sleep on it. I was like, I think it's a good price. I think we need to jump. I was so ready to be done. And then we both woke up and I was like, I'm still thinking about that one. And she was like, me too. And I was like, I keep liking it more and more when I look at the details of the stitching. And then the reason it worked, and I think this is something that everyone needs to know, it's just like, it's so much about your tailor. This goes for a new dress or an old dress. Like, finding the right tailor is magic. And I had Orselina, who is an absolute legend. I was in her garage in Pasadena, and I sent her the dress, and she was like, I do freelance work for Oscar. I know this dress well. And then I was like, well,
that's a sign. I believe in signs so much, and that is a friggin' sign if I've ever heard one.
Oh my God, yeah. That was the highlight. And I never went dress shopping. Like, I never went into a store.
So did you make a conscious decision, I'm not doing the traditional route of dress shopping?
I could have probably gone for fun. I think I knew myself, and I was like, if I open up that can of worms, I'm going to lose my mind. I could also see myself having like the complimentary glass of champagne and accidentally dropping way too much money and being like, whatever, it's my wedding.
It's my wedding day.
It's like, this is what you do. And it's like, okay,
1000%.
whoa, deep breath. So I kind of knew myself in that moment.
Okay.
I did get invited to Kleinfeld's after the fact, and I went and tried on dresses.
Fun.
And I will say, I put on a ball gown, and I was like, why didn't I wear a ball gown? Like, that is so fun.
No, you're
I'm
timeless
so yeah.
angel. Yeah. Well, now Kleinfeld has, is it not After White? What is the, Kleinfeld has?
Still White?
Still White.
Oh, yeah. I got my veil off Still White.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Because I wanted an Oscar de la Renta veil to match my Oscar. Like, I couldn't. Yeah. It's just funny. But I will say, like, the quality, and this is something that Orselina actually said to me. She said she had a preferred dry cleaner. She, like, took it somewhere in the valley, and she was like, he always says, you can always tell because they clean up perfectly. The fabric is really good quality. And so it's good to buy those, nicer, more expensive fabrics secondhand because you know that they're going to, like, really shine once you take them to get professionally cleaned.
Yes.
So that's a good tip, I guess.
So for anyone wanting to go down your route, wants to buy secondhand, because I think it's brilliant. We wear these dresses once. Yeah. Things come back around. You make things your own. The wearer really makes it 100%. In fashion, or like, I don't really believe, I do believe in trends, and I think trends are fun, but I think that it's more important, like, the whole Nancy Meyers idea to be like authentic to yourself.
Yes.
If anyone wanted to go that route that you did, what advice would you have for them?
Find a good tailor.
Okay.
That's going to be number one. And I think it's knowing yourself. Like, what are you going to feel comfortable in? If you're someone who needs, I mean, I was weird and I was like, I can see, and I do a lot of online shopping. Sure. This also came up a lot with my mom because I was like, I'm finding all these great dresses on The Real for you. And she's like, I have to try things on in person. Yep. Which is a whole other saga, which is like so hard, mother of the bride dresses. But
so hard.
If you're already, like, I was already someone who's like, I can tell from measurements and pictures if something's going to work for me. Yeah. If that's not what you do, maybe go try things on first and get an idea of like, oh, I like this cut. Oh, I didn't know I would like this neckline, or, Right. And then I always search by designer. You just don't know. You just don't know what you're going to find. Yes. You can't just type in like vintage wedding dress. I think you have to get specific in the search. Right. And that, yeah.
So with your dress, let's say it had come in and it was just not really what you knew. Is that the risk that you take with something like a Poshmark, or do they honor over
No, it would have been on me. So my dress was $600, I think.
You got an Oscar de la Renta dress for $600.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, worst case scenario, if it comes in and I can't make it work and I can't find a tailor that can make it work, I'll sell it. Like, it's going to work for someone else.
Totally.
Yeah, she had said, or Selena was like, I took it to the girls in the store and asked on Melrose, the Oscar Renta Melrose store, and they were like, this must have been a sample. And I think a lot of samples end up on these secondhand sites.
Right.
So it had not been worn. It had not been altered. It had not been touched.
You got a never before worn Oscar de la Renta dress for $600. It's just going through my mind right now.
It was crazy. It really was crazy. And I found it. It was so sweet. It got featured in like Martha Stewart magazines. It was one of the last collections he was alive for. And there's a picture of him and the model is in that dress. I was like, he must have really liked this one, which like, that's so fun to me that he was really part of that one. And it had that like, he always talks about like a Spanish flamenco flair. And it was so fun after I was researching Oscar de la Renta. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be an Oscar bride. I didn't think this was going to happen for me.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. This is the kind of thing that gives me chills.
I know.
Okay, so.
But that's the crafty hack. It's like, I couldn't have walked into the Oscar store and gotten a dress. Like there's no way.
Right.
So it was just about thinking outside the box, which is really like the big takeaway I have for brides, but anyone getting married is like, you can do it just a little bit different. If you're giving it that, look at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't always have to be like, we go into the store, we have the glass of champagne, we try it on, we buy it, we wear it once. It's like, there's so many ways to throw a wedding.
And I encourage anyone who has a little bit of trouble thinking that way or looking at it from a different lens to follow your socials and look at the way that you dissect things because you have a really interesting way and an interesting perspective on it.
Yep.
Because it sounds so easy, like, well, just look at it from a different lens. But you have a very unique eye for it, which I think is a good reason to follow along with you.
Yes. And the people, I will say the people who follow me are so crafty. Like I've started doing my Substack and I'm featuring once a month a wedding, like real people weddings, which I started reviewing after the Vogue weddings. I was like, we need to bring everyone back down to earth sometimes. So people were submitting their weddings to me. They wanted to hear it talked about in the way, which is so flattering. I'm like,
so nice.
I'm happy to compliment you for.
And the nice part about what you do with that is, in Vogue and all of these features, even Over the Moon, which I want to get back to. But we see these weddings that are featured for one reason or another. They're people either with, a connection or a certain amount of money, or they have famous. Or they're famous. Yeah. But there are these really amazing, beautiful, unique weddings that never get the feature, but could inspire so many. So I love that you're doing this.
The one that I featured in October on my Substack, Let's Party, it's...
Is this from Brooklyn to...
Oh, no, but I love that was my second one. The first one was the couple that did the 9 a.m. ceremony.
Yeah.
They were like,
I love that.
She was like, it's not... For me, it's too much to do this long stretch, and I know I want an intimate ceremony, but I also want this dinner party. And she flipped the whole thing on its head, and I was like, that is the kind of stuff one person sees that and they go, oh my gosh, okay.
Yes.
Now my wheels are spinning in a different direction. Like you can throw out the rule book, but you have to, sometimes I have to see it to believe it kind of a thing.
Right.
So I hope that someone got inspired by that because I loved their wedding.
Oh my God.
Stunning.
That was so beautiful. So, okay, I want to talk about the publications themselves because being published or being featured, like it's not everything, but it is a goal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of brides want that feature.
Right.
And I think that's a great goal to reach for as long as that's like not the reason we're getting married.
100%.
But to anyone who thinks I have something to offer, something to give, and I think I deserve to be featured because you were featured in Over the Moon.
Yes. So that, I don't think my wedding would have been featured if I hadn't been doing the TikTok thing. And so Alexandra Macon is the Vogue wedding. She's like...
Icon.
Yes, the icon, the legend.
Yes.
And so sweet. We chatted before. We did a collab video, and I was working with Over the Moon for some things, and they featured my bachelorette party and on their socials, and it was just so fun. We had an existing relationship. So when the wedding photos rolled in, I was like, if you want to look, and they were a really good job. if you're interested, our photographers crushed it.
Okay.
And then it was fun because it was, the culmination. So many people were excited. They were following along with our wedding planning. So it was really, I was so happy that there was like a dedicated space for everyone to go. Because it's hard to be neutral about your own wedding. Like I couldn't totally do my shtick with my own. It's like, it's perfect. Moving on. It's like, okay, I loved it. Of course, I picked it.
Oh my gosh. So. Okay. So yeah, you had the pre-existing relationship.
Yes.
But I mean, for anyone who wants to be featured, do they just submit the photo? Do you have any intel as to how they?
I think they have a submission process for Over the Moon. I think Vogue is an inner circle type situation.
Yes.
But I think, and it's fun because people are now sending me weddings. And it's like when it's a complete stranger, the things that stand out are so different than when it's like someone you know and love and you know how amazing the day was because you were there. You don't want to perform your wedding. Like, I think it's so obvious when someone is having the best time ever and the photographer was capturing that versus we are doing this to get a picture.
Totally.
Which would be my advice whether you want to be featured or not. Like, pretend the camera is not there because the day's going to go so fast.
Yes. So one of my girlfriends, she's an incredible dress designer, and her husband is an amazing wedding photographer. He's like been published everywhere. He's so great. But one thing that he said recently is he had a couple who saw one of his other weddings, and they had these series of photos that this new couple fell in love with, and they wanted to recreate all these things. He was like, it was just so obvious. He's like, I'm a great photographer, so like, they're going to look good, but it just felt inauthentic, and they weren't pleased with the outcome because the reason those first people's photos came out so great was because it was joy.
Real. It was a real moment.
And they didn't have a shot list, which I do believe in a shot list for a couple reasons. Like
a light shot list.
A light shot list.
The stuff you need to get the family
totally.
in
Parents, siblings, whatever, grandparents. But yeah, I think having like a very rigid shot list is, you're going to end up being disappointed with your photos.
I completely agree. I've also never heard a couple be like, we didn't get enough photos of us.
Right.
And I always say, like, get pictures of the guests. You have to. You have to make your photographer go around. We have all of my photos now. When I look, I've seen myself in this dress for 2 years. I'm happy with it.
Yes.
I love it. I love how we look. I knew we were going to get great pictures of us on our wedding day.
Of course.
And there's people, people aren't going to be with you forever. And having those photos of family and friends and those are the things you're going to cherish. Have your photographer get the guests.
Oh my gosh, it's so important. Even, videographer. I was recently, I have one of those coffee table books that like you open the wedding video.
Yes.
And my grandpa, like he's old as shit. Like he's 95 or 96.
Yeah.
And there's this great snippet in the video of him dancing with my two aunts.
Yep.
And I'll always have that. Like that is really, really special to me. It's underrated. Of course, just to your point, the whole thing of like, you're never going to not have enough pictures of you. You have the portraits. You're going to look amazing. You're going to have the candidates from dancing. So focus on just telling them, if you're doing a shot list, you're so right.
Yeah, and capture the real thing as it happened. Our photographer was unbelievable, and he captured the spirit of the thing so well. And I always love this in a Vogue. I always point it out, and this is how I knew to ask. But it's like, I love the zoomed out shot. Get the party from a distance.
Yes,
like looking in. Oh, I love that. Those always are such a favorite photo.
Gorgeous. Like, do you want to shout out your photographer?
Yes, it was the Shalom Imaginative, and they are incredible. They have a couple different photographers. All of them are amazing. I've had friends use them since. The photos do not disappoint, and they, that was a really hard vendor for me to pick. I was having a tough time.
That's tough. Photography is so personal.
And so like you start to go crazy. You're like, are these color presets? Are these too orange? Are these normal? Is this what the day looked like?
Right.
And every photographer has a gorgeous gallery that you can look at, and they're all the best photos from someone's days. Someone asked me, or I think our photographer even just did it on their website. It's like full day gallery. Like what was what was every photo this couple got? And that was really helpful because everyone's going to get one amazing shot.
1,000%. But that's something that Greg Fink says too. Is ask for
the full gallery.
I love that advice. Yeah, it's so difficult. When I got married in 2021, Lauren Fair, who's an amazing photographer, she kind of popularized, even before that, probably like 2018, 2019, I don't want to call it whitewashed because I feel like that's not a fair way.
No, but
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So all the photographers that I was looking at, I was kind of looking at like this whitewash style. And when I showed them to my husband, he was like, where are they? Like, no one, it looks like
Did
they're
your
not in the
husband have
picture.
an intense opinion about the photography situation? Because mine did as well. And I thought that was so funny because I was so lost in the sauce of looking at them. And I'd be like, what about this one? He's like, those are orange. You're like, what? I've been looking at these for days. Like, I can't believe. And then you said it, and I was like, well, yeah, those are kind of orange, I guess.
Totally. Yeah, that was a weird thing that I was like, oh, I can't believe you even noticed that. Because like, all he cared about was obviously the music and the food. Like typical straight groom. But like, I showed him, because I had worked with a couple people on, weddings that I loved their work for sure. But I wanted to give other people a shot and like look at other work because it's so insular. What I do. So I was like, let me see these other people. And when I showed him, he was like, yeah, just like I can barely see the people in these pictures. It was so whitewashed. So we ended up going with a photographer whose typical style doesn't really go in the whitewash direction. Right. And we're so happy with the pictures. We love them. I know.
And that's another thing I think that can date your photos really quickly. If it's a trendy style of, I mean, I'm not a photographer. I do not understand how this all works. But if the kind of overall tone, I can look at pictures from like, the 2012 barn wedding millennial era and they like just look a certain way. I was really trying to be conscious of that when we were picking a photographer too.
Your wedding feels very timeless in the photos.
I hope so.
I'm acting like I was there, but I wasn't. But I feel like I was because you made it so personal that you could actually feel it. That's the differentiator. Like if your pictures can tell that story and you can understand, you can see the emotions. Like that's the thing.
And as far as like the making it personal, it's leaning into what you are. Like don't fight who you guys are as a couple.
Yeah.
Because you had a vision of what your wedding was going to be like. Like we picked this venue because it had this kind of old Hollywood vibe to it. That's so up our alley. That was very, that was important to us. And it just felt like that kind of informed every decision. So it was like, okay, then the napkins had the movie quotes. And then we had we made a big montage of like dance scenes throughout history to have projected over the dance floor. So that was really fun. It just like kind of all leaned into everything. The music, like what I walked down the aisle to, Moon River. I was like, okay, it's like an old Hollywood without being like red carpet pose, like birthday theme. But
you're a little bit of, I would say you're a little bit of a cinephile. Like, but it wasn't in a way that it's like throwing up movies all over your day.
That was just scary. Like film reel on the table. Like
but it's
little
so,
Oscars.
I love that because it's so subtle, but it's you.
Right.
How is your husband? Is he also?
Oh, he's way more than me. I'm like rom-coms and he's like, I always say he's got like an IMDb brain. He's an editor, so he does movie trailers.
Stop.
So we're actually the holiday on accident. So he's the movie trailer maker and because Kate Winslet does wedding reviews, I think, in the movie.
I am
that occurred to me like last year. I was like, we're the holiday.
You're the holiday.
So,
oh my gosh. By the time this airs, the holidays will have just ended. So we'll be like the first episode of the new year. But
you can watch that movie. It ends on New Year's. So it's still okay.
You can watch it year-round if you're feeling a little crazy.
Or anytime you're on a plane. It's a classic plane movie.
If you want to cry on a plane, like, put on the holiday.
You and Cameron. Let the tears flow.
I actually cry at like most movies on a plane.
It's something about the air.
There's something, right.
It's different.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
It's very strange. I'm just looking at time really quick. Okay,
I know. So I knew we were going to be yappers over here.
We're gabbing, but I love it. I love it. It's so fun. Okay, so now what I want to go into with you really quickly before I go into the parts of the wedding, because I want to just get you study so many weddings and you really, really, really deep dive them. So I want to go into parts of the wedding and things about them that you've seen either in your personal, in your own, in any featured wedding. So let's start with the proposal.
Well, this is the thing I had the least control over.
Sure.
Though I was involved in the ring aspect of it.
Okay.
My husband proposed actually in New York. We didn't live in New York at the time. And I just could tell it was happening all day. Neither of us were eating. We were acting so weird. It was so we went to the Met in the morning and I was like, is he just going to like surprise me? And then we got to Central Park and it happened. I think he had a beautiful speech prepared. I completely blacked out. I have no idea what he said. My advice, I guess, to anyone proposing is assume that the person being proposed to is not going to remember a thing. So you might want to write it down. It would be lovely if I could reread what he said. I'm sure it was nice.
Yeah, that's super common. Same thing. Like both blacked out. It's
No clue.
something just takes over your body.
Yeah, it's an adrenaline surge. It's like, it's
Yeah.
really, really crazy. We did it. He proposed on Bow Bridge in Central Park, and it was like crowded, but not crazy. And then we just hear like the little boats. People are clapping. I was like, oh, what happened? They're like, that's for you. Oh, yeah, thank you. We just got engaged.
That's so cute.
I know. It was really funny. I think I was really like adamant about like, I don't want a photographer. Like, I don't want to do a full engagement photo shoot after we get engaged. But my friend was hiding in a bush and came out. And even just the iPhone photos, I'm glad we have.
Totally. You want something to commemorate.
Yeah,
even
because
like,
you will black out.
sometimes strangers will do it, which I think is really nice. They'll see like, people at the beach and they're like, oh, someone's getting engaged.
Yes.
And like, they'll track them down to try to do it. But
that's so sweet.
Yeah, even if it's not a professional, like I think to see that moment back, it's so fun.
I agree.
When I got engaged, we were down at the beach. We live at the beach, and we watched the sunset at this.
Did you know it was happening?
Point. So I didn't all day, but then my husband,
the tone
of course, he started acting crazy and talking about his aunt and uncle who got divorced. Like he didn't know what to talk about, and he was just like,
right?
I was like, what the fuck? And
love that, babe.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, why don't we just like go have a drink before dinner? I'm like,
yeah, like, this is a weird thing you would never say or
exactly.
suggest.
So we're like sitting there. I'm like, okay, it's time to go. Like, I'm not going to wait here all day. Let's go. But then he proposed and it was really sweet. But our neighbor is a professional surfer.
Okay.
And his girlfriend at the time, now wife, does a lot of his footage. And he has a huge YouTube following.
Okay.
And he happened to be surfing. So we were like, oh, there's Ben. And we're like kind of watching him while we're there. But she saw us from afar and she's like, oh, like
just
these people.
She just happened to be there?
She just happened to be there. And like, we didn't see her. And I don't think she even knew us, but she, like she could see us in her line of vision. She got the shot. She's like, oh, these people, and it's in this video on YouTube. She's like, these people, I can't tell if he's going to propose or if they're on a first date. They're so awkward.
They're being really weird.
They're
either about to get married or they've never met.
Yeah, it's so funny. And my cousin ended up like just finding it per chance. He was like, do you know that you're in this video? I was like, what the hell? So funny.
That's so sweet.
I know.
You have it.
So now we have it, which is really nice. But yeah, okay. So proposal, like biggest tip, would you say for the blacker outers?
I mean, try to stay present. I didn't. I literally remember we were walking and I knew it was like, okay, it's happening now. We just got through the whole Met. We were just on the rooftop of the Met. Like if it hasn't, it's happening in Central Park, clearly.
Yes.
And he was like, I think I want to go to Bow Bridge. I'm like, you've never been to Bow Bridge. Like, of course it's happening on Bow Bridge. So we're walking
cute.
and it was like the silence of, like you're either going to break up or you're either about to have like the breakup talk or get engaged. And it was just like,
totally.
Like, I was like, oh, that looks pretty over there. He's like, let's keep walking. I was like, what are we? Like, it was just so funny. And then I do remember like when it started, he kind of looked at me and he said, Shannon, it's happening. I was like, okay. That's
so cute. Shannon, it's happening.
Okay, get ready.
Oh,
we're doing it. But,
immortal words.
Yeah. And then I don't remember anything. But it's going to be perfect no matter what you do.
Okay.
I don't think you can mess up a proposal unless you don't.
You
unless
can't.
You drop
Even
the
a
ring.
bad proposal is a great proposal.
Yeah, don't do it on a dock. I've seen too many videos of someone like dropping their ring in the sea.
No. I know. I think you probably know this video too with the throwing the ring and then the guy missing it.
Oh, no. Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
People will know that. Okay.
Maybe for the ring holder, insure it before. That's good advice.
Oh, you must insure the ring when you buy the ring. I mean, you cannot wear that thing without it being insured.
Or like fly with it. Like I hate to think that was just in luggage.
God forbid.
Thank God it made its way.
You can't. Okay. All right. So let's go to bachelorette parties. What did you love? What do you love?
This is like the hot topic du jour. I feel like I have so many thoughts and feelings. Your friends want to celebrate you. Mm-hmm. Your friends don't want to spend all their PTO and all of their money on you.
Louder for the people in the back, Shannon. Like, that's the thing. They want to celebrate you.
Yes.
But they don't want to spend their life savings.
So make it easy to celebrate you.
Yes.
Would be my advice to the person getting married. And then the planning of it, I booked out like I was like, getting ready time. I want 3 hours of girly getting ready time where we make a drink, we are running around, music is playing, and we're doing each other's makeup and applying lashes. That is always the most fun part of your weekend. Of
course. So
leave a lot of extra time for it.
Where did you do your Bachelorette?
I did it at the Madonna Inn, which is in San Luis Obispo, and it is very kitschy, very pink. It's a wacky hotel. Okay. But if you know it, you know it's like the most extra pink throw up.
So fun.
And it's so fun. It was so and it was great because we were kind of like on property. Like there was a pool. You could go get food. Like, we didn't have to do a lot of cars, which was great. Oh. And I kept it small. It was 8 people. And I made little goodie bags and it was fun. It's perfection. It was really fun. And there was wineries and it was great.
Oh, it sounds so nice. It was great. Okay. All right. Bachelorette parties. Let's go to bridal showers.
Okay. Bridal showers. I guess I've only been to mine in recent memory, unless I'm forgetting something. I was like, we don't need to open gifts. Who wants to watch me open gifts? And it's like every mom wants to watch you open gifts.
Why?
And they rebel hard. I tried to be like, we don't need to.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, why don't we do a thing where we like, everyone opens a present and say who it's from. So it's not just me being like, yay,
oh, that's a good idea.
Yay. Which I've heard is successful. And people were like, no, we want to watch you do it. It's like, okay. I have heard of around-the-clock bridal showers. Okay. Where it's like every guest gets assigned a time of day. So if you don't want to go on your exact registry, which my mom was kind of like, this is not fun. Like, when people are buying things and then they want to bring something to, I could have thought that through better. Like a separate thing. Yeah. Because people want to bring a wrapped thing. Right. And not just click something off of Zola and send it to your house.
For sure.
But yeah, the around-the-clock bridal shower I heard about recently, and I think it's kind of an old school thing, but it's like someone gets, the morning, so maybe they get some like cute coffee cups, and then someone gets, like happy hour, or like that's late cute. Night, someone brings a little lingerie or like a fun candle. So that's a fun one to do around the clock.
That's a really good idea. I like that. Around-the-clock shower. I haven't heard of that.
But I don't think you're getting out of opening gifts in front of people is what I'll say. I tried.
I did it. I was successful, but I had like I planned everything and it was just like, my sister got married before me, so.
Oh, you got to watch it all.
I know. She broke the mold so that I didn't have to invite certain people that she had to invite. I could do things my own way.
Big sisters, backbone of society over here.
We love a big sis. We love a big Vic. That's my sister. She's
Big Vic.
Big Vic. Oh, shout out to Big Vic.
Big Vic.
Okay, what about welcome parties?
I'm a huge fan.
Love.
I like having something to do. It doesn't have to be that you feed everybody. Yeah. Even just pick a bar or a brewery and let all the people start to, you have all that excitement and nervous energy. And as the couple, you don't have that much time on your wedding day. I loved spreading out, getting to talk to people.
Totally.
And I think it's so fun.
So the only thing I will say with welcome parties is just be cognizant not to make it like the rager, because so many times I see people have a welcome party that's so much more fun than the wedding, because you're like,
guess what? Everyone's relaxed.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's a totally different energy.
Totally.
So I'm not saying make it boring, but make it just different. Don't make it like another wedding reception.
I have seen that and I'm like, whoa, okay, you just did 2 weddings back to back.
Yeah.
I learned this lesson the hard way on my Bachelorette, which is don't go too hard on night 1. And I took that with me to my welcome, wedding weekend.
Smart.
Because something does come over you when you start to see every single person in your life parading in and you're like, drinks are flowing and it's so exciting. And I was like, okay, I cannot be hungover on my wedding day.
Totally.
This is a 2-drink max situation.
Yes.
And so don't go too hard on night 1.
That's smart. Give yourself a max.
Yes.
Because if you really do go hard, like you don't want your wedding to come and be like, oh, this wasn't as fun as the welcome party.
That's true. Yeah. I was like, I thought you were going to say like that you're nauseous on getting ready for your wedding. I was like, yeah.
You certainly don't want that. You want to be refreshed and gorgeous for your wedding. So do not get too drunk.
It's already going to be hard to fall asleep the night before. Don't like soothe that fear with too much to drink.
What did you do the night before? I feel like you did something really cute.
We had a rehearsal dinner and then we had just people come meet at a restaurant in Los Angeles called Bakery in Silver Lake, and it was jam-packed and it was really fun. And I remember at one time like looking over to my mom and she was like, this is your life. Like it's suddenly like every single person that you've known from every age to like what is that we're doing here? So it is fun and it's a crazy like pinch me moment.
Totally.
And then I went home. I kind of like, I loved not having a hotel. We slept in our house the night before. I was like, I need my
Did you stay
products.
together?
Yeah.
That's nice.
I don't think I could have fallen asleep. I had nervous energy.
That's something that I like that people are doing now, like spending the night, waking up in the morning together, and then like, okay, I'll see you later.
I think the tradition's really sweet. If you can do it, that's great. That's another one where it's like, I have to sit with myself and know that like, I need my bed, I need my like shower, I need my products on the counter.
Totally. It comes back to knowing yourself. You don't want to forget anything.
Yeah.
Okay. What about ceremony?
Well, the letters.
The letters.
The letters. The letters changed my life. That priest, I hope he knows I'm giving his advice out
No,
to
we
everyone in
love
America.
this priest. Like he
crushed it.
You know what? So
he was a fun priest. He like partied.
I have to be really cognizant because I feel like I shit on priests a lot and I don't mean it. And I just want to take this moment to highlight a fabulous priest.
But there are some really fun priests out there.
Really fun priests.
And then there's old ones that like have no idea what's going on and they show up and they're like, another wedding, great. Yeah. And you're just a dime a dozen.
They're
like
here
next.
to drink, and that's, Right.
I had a person who submit their wedding. They did a wedding in the Scottish Highlands, like Highlands. This was years ago. And their priest did not show up the day of their wedding. Like full-blown destination. They're like, where's the priest? Where's the priest? Where's the priest? And she said that they were like wandering around the grounds in Scotland and they found this guy. He's like, of course I'll do it. You know, like comes in, sits, and he took the homily and he like sat down with them on the stage. She's sending me these pictures. I was like crying reading her description because she's like, he's like, how'd you two meet? And they're like, Tinder, you know, like when they're dying. And he was like, okay, like, you know, he was getting to know them. And she's like, obviously it made for the most fun ceremony because everyone was belly laughing. This guy was so sweet. He's like, well, it's lovely to meet you. Congratulations.
Oh my God. That is really cool.
That's kind of what you want, like something that goes wrong that ends up being better.
Yes. And it is an important lesson.
Totally.
On the day of,
something's going wrong.
Let go, let God. Something's going to go wrong. Roll with it. You have to. You've done everything you can.
That was actually in Alexandra Macon's like wedding advice from a wedding expert.
Yeah.
And she said, accept that something's going to go wrong and take it in stride. And I remembered that. It played on my head in a loop. And I was like, something will. And let it go and laugh about it.
Something like that, like it enhances the day. Yeah. What a fun story. Okay, obsessed. What about cocktail hour?
I love cocktail hour. I love cocktails. I love a signature drink. I love the little napkins. I feel like it's a playful time.
Yes.
We had a magician at ours, which is crazy.
Stop it.
Yeah. There's a place in Hollywood called the Magic Castle, which is like very old members only club in Los Angeles. And you have to be in full suit and tie when you go in. It's like a black tie dress code every night. And you wander this old house in Hollywood and there's magicians floating around. And we saw this guy, Mike Pashota. He's unbelievable. And we saw him on Valentine's Day, like the year before we got married. I was like, he is going to be at our wedding. He has to. And he came and he did it and he set up in a little corner and people will just wandered around during cocktail hour. And there he was.
That's so fun. Because I feel like people are always looking for activations and it's like
something to do.
Photo booth and they're all great. Like there's no knock to it, whatever you want to do. But think outside the box a little bit. Like why not
do something
freaking magician?
People will remember it.
It's fabulous.
I also wonder, people doing photo booths. I did a photo booth. I love a photo booth. Yes. I love being at a wedding where there's a photo booth.
For sure.
I think it's a great break for dancing. I think it's a gift you give to your guests to have like a true photo that they can take home in their outfit. Why aren't more people, do people do it during cocktail hour a lot?
So,
because I feel like that's a great idea. That's when I'm looking better. I haven't eaten yet.
1,000%.
The bloat hasn't set in.
I just did a wedding in September where we had it for cocktail hour and an hour after.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. And it was because we were like, budget-wise, we were like, okay, let's, like, how can we do this? And with a shorter time period, they were like, yeah, we'll give it to you for X price.
But how fun to do during cocktail hour.
So fun.
When you kind of have that nervous energy, people aren't, like, totally, like, you know.
And it's nice to break things up because people beeline to the bar, but if they see that there's something else, it's like, oh, let's beeline to photo booth.
Absolutely. I would go to the photo booth and be like, yes, okay, I can handle that, and then I'll go get my drink.
I'm looking my freshest right now.
Right. My hair hasn't fallen, and this is the time, and we're doing it.
Correct.
But I always hear people be like, I don't want a photo booth because I don't want it to detract from the dance floor. So I was like, why aren't people doing that more? So someone needs to do that because, or people are doing it.
Yeah, but no, it's not common. You're right. And it's a really good idea to do. And I know everyone wants people to dance, but like the important part is if you're a dancer, you dance. I have done weddings where it was a sit down dinner with music and no one danced and they conversed after. It wasn't meant to dance, but it was like that wasn't them. And it was one of the best weddings ever. And I'm a dancer. I love to dance.
I'm a dancer too. I am also very aware, like my husband isn't, you know, like it is so nice when you aren't a dancer and there's something to do other than dance.
Totally.
I think that's a nice thing that you give your guests, like a little breather even from the dance floor. Sometimes I'm sweating because I've been holding it down, you know, before on the dance floor for people.
Absolutely. And there's so many songs I'm like, oh, if I ever hear Uptown Funk again, and then I'm like,
I'm like, I can't believe this one. Here I am absolutely doing a full performance piece on the dance floor.
Cutting a rug.
Yeah, cutting a rug.
Okay, what about I mean, we kind of touched on that, reception/dinner, like things we could change or break up, make different.
Yes. This is another just kind of practical tip if you're working within a constrained budget. Have your splurge things. For us, we were like, food isn't going to be the splurge, and we just kind of knew that.
Yeah.
We did a family-style dinner. It was fine. But on the flip of that, I'm like, has anyone ever really walked away from a wedding being like, the food was unbelievable? I think if you have over 100 people, you have to be like, the food is just what it is, and we need to feed people and get them out of there.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't necessarily ever really care what anyone's feeding me for food.
Yeah.
Just that there is food.
Yeah.
I care a lot about coffee at a wedding.
Totally.
I need coffee.
Totally.
I need coffee with my cake or any dessert of your choosing, but I literally get giddy when I see the coffee come out. And it also gets me up and on the dance floor.
1,000%. Yeah. Either an espresso martini
oh
or
my God, if there's an espresso martini.
Well, when you said food, that is really interesting because I do feel the same way. I care a little bit about cocktail hour. Like I want to pick in a blanket or a shrimp cocktail.
Same. I love a past app.
I love a past app.
And I'm loving the soup shooter trend. When I see a little soup shooter come by, give it to me. I'm so happy, especially in the fall. Oh my God.
Cozy, like a little cozy, sexy. Love it. Oh, I love it.
Toss it back.
But yeah, dinner, I couldn't give a shit about. But I do either want a special treat, of course, a coffee. And
I'm very treat-based at weddings. I need a special treat.
I need a special treat.
I need a little sweet treat.
It's always time for me to have a sweet treat.
Always. Always.
But I think that either at the after party, there needs to be like some fun food, or if you're not doing an after party, it's always so fun to like be drunk and go get something messy after. So I agree with you. I don't think dinner matters that much.
I just don't think there's really a way to serve 100+ people at the same time and it's going to be like, knock your socks off.
No.
If food is important to you, I think you need to be like, either we're going to spend $1 million on this part of it and it's going to be this crazy like service situation, or you're going to have a smaller wedding at a restaurant.
Which is also great,
so fun and cozy. And I would have done that in a heartbeat. But I think at a certain point, it's like, whatever. If food shows up, it's there. I've never been like feeling one way or the other about someone's wedding meal.
1,000%. 1,000%. Okay. Before we end the episode, we have two things to do. We have first premarital counseling, and then we'll get into our after party. But premarital counseling is where our listeners write in.
Where the priest yells at you.
The priest yells at you and tells you that you are an asshole for not going to church. But our listeners write in if they have questions or concerns. You know, we try to help them sort through it.
Okay.
Notoriously, my guests are way better at this than I am. They give much better advice than I do. So, Shannon, will you help us today?
I'm here to help.
Okay,
Let's do
perfect. It. So we always keep it anonymous. If anyone ever wants to write in, they can write in at podcasts@lovestoriestv.com or Adriana at the-pre-nup.com. Okay. So this bride is newly engaged. Her wedding date is TBD. Okay. She says, hi, Adriana and Shannon. Writing in as a wedding guest. Okay. My fiance's college friends are getting married and didn't include my fiance with a +1.
Oh.
Ooh. Yucky. I feel slated to say the least. The very least. I've never met these people before as they don't live nearby, but my fiance and I have been together for 2 years and we live together. I find this extremely disrespectful. So do I. My fiance wants to ask if he can bring me, but I don't even want to go now. What would you do in my situation?
I feel for this situation.
Totally.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And it's like whether it was just a total accidental oversight or an intentional thing, like it hurts your feelings and you're so normal for feeling slighted. Okay, couple things. I didn't not invite anyone's fiance, but we had a few people reach out to us that were like, hey, I see I didn't get a +1. Can I bring blankety blank? And this is kind of a, use your best discretion moment. But it's like, if someone is asking, it must be really, really important to them.
Yeah.
And we said, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether it was going to mess up our numbers or mess up a table was like, okay, obviously. And these were both people we hadn't met. So it's kind of a similar situation. It's like, I didn't know this is obviously a very serious relationship to you.
Yes.
And you want to bring them. Like, absolutely. And so as the bride or groom getting that, I think even if you're in numbers land, take the moment to remember that like people are traveling and people respect your wedding enough that they want to bring someone they love.
Yes.
It should be a compliment, really, right?
Definitely.
As the person, this person's going to have to figure out if their fiance asks, they're probably going to get yes.
Yeah.
And are you going to be able to show up and have an awesome time?
Well, here's the thing. The only thing I will say, and it's so much easier said than done, but you have to try to give the benefit of the doubt. So first of all, this is your fiance and he wants you to come and you want to be with him, and like you don't want it to be this awkward thing where he's not going for his friends or, like you don't want to put him in a bad position because it's not by any stretch his fault.
No.
If let's say he reaches out to them and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Mortified,
that was an
so
oversight."
Sorry. Of course. We can't wait to have her there.
That's on the table. Like that's quite possible.
Probably what will happen.
Yes. And if he reaches out and they're like, "No, sorry," he might not even want to go to this wedding.
Then maybe it's like, okay, that's unfortunate to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
won't
think
be able to make it.
You have to allow him to ask. And then you can make your decision on what you want to do. I think if I were
they say yes, you also have to show up and be you're gonna have to leave your crankiness at the door, which would be very hard for me to do because I'd be like, okay.
Totally.
I wasn't even supposed to be here.
If you drink, you might want to, take a shot before you go.
Right.
Or maybe like smoke a little ganja. If that's
or don't accidentally drink too much and then be like, I wasn't even invited. I wasn't even on the first round.
I always go to like, just have a drink. It's such bad advice. And I'm always like, yeah, just like a drink is going to help.
No, I mean, you just you're going to have to be prepared to show up and like sweep that whole incident under the rug. Because I also feel like she said, I don't know, we're gendering, I don't know if she said, but like she said, now I don't even want to go.
Yeah, I know.
And if that's how you feel, like, that's okay.
Yes. But if you really, after all is said and done, if everything doesn't go in your favor, you really don't want to go, then like, of course you have to be true to yourself. But if it goes in the way that like you are going to go, maybe you're a little bit reluctant, smile on your face, best you've ever looked.
Yeah. Absolute head to toe glam. We are splurging on a dress. We are gonna possibly upstage the bride.
And listen, Poshmark.
You're going to Poshmark. You're typing in Oscar. You're typing in all the best, and you're gonna just do full glam. Show up. Oh, me.
Whether or not it's black tie, you're wearing an Oscar de la Renta gown.
Yeah.
You are looking fabulous. Come on now. I do. I think you're right. I think Shannon had really good advice that we have to try. We have to ask. Honor your fiance and allow your fiance to ask these people if it was an oversight.
And if it was an oversight, you're gonna know, and the bride and groom will be like, oh my God, so sorry. We can't wait to meet her. Totally. It's hard when you don't know a person. And this is so common now because we all are, spread out and people are older. And it's like, okay, this person's really serious. I just got engaged, but you haven't even met them yet. So give everyone a little grace. Show up looking amazing.
Yes.
And if they say no, let's reevaluate some friendships.
Abso-friggin-lutely. Okay. And then last portion of our episode today, Shannon, is our after party. So this is something that we do with all of our guests. It's so fun. They're wedding questions. They don't necessarily have to be about your wedding.
Okay.
Just go with your gut, okay?
Got it.
All right. So first question in our after party is, what is your honeymoon hotspot?
Well, I went to Puerto Vallarta.
Ooh.
To me, a honeymoon, I need chips and salsa, and I need a margarita. I need to be laying down for most of it.
Sexy.
And not even in like the sexy way. I need to be, after that wedding, I was like, I need a day.
You need to relax.
To just lay.
A
massage.
Where did you stay? What did you do in Puerto Vallarta?
Okay, I'm going to try to make this really quick.
Okay.
But so we had the Elizabeth Taylor car as our getaway car, which was a crazy thing. Friend of a friend. We got to take the green goddess from the church to our venue.
So
unbelievable.
cool.
Then I was like, oh my God, what do we do for honeymoon? How dare someone ask me to plan a trip Like, how do you plan a trip while you're planning a wedding? It's actually crazy.
Totally.
But I was like, I know myself, and I want to get on a plane and be somewhere warm with margarita, chips, and salsa.
Of course.
Researching. I was like, I don't want it to be a long flight. Puerto Vallarta, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton's old house converted into a hotel. And we stayed there. It's called Casa Kimberly. It was so beautiful. The staff, it was a tiny little boutique hotel. They, knew us. So every time we walked in and out, it was so fun. Oh my God, it was great.
Oh my God, that sounds so cool.
It was magical.
I've
it really
never
was.
heard that before, and I love it.
And it also was just one of those like meant to be. Like I couldn't believe, and they were having a sale when I booked it. It was just like, this is crazy.
And it's so you. It's
yeah,
like
of course.
the Elizabeth Taylor of
it's like stick the landing with all the references. We nailed it.
Obsessed. Okay, what song will get you on the dance floor at a wedding?
I mean, any of them really. But if you're playing Taylor, I'm on the dance floor. I'm performing. If you're playing espresso these days, I'm doing the dance.
Love it.
I'm there for you.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. What hors d'oeuvre will you never pass up?
I love, as I said, the little soup shooter. And I will never pass up an hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah.
I'm not really like super into seafood, but I will do anything on a skewer, anything in a blanket, anything in a pot sticker. I'll take it.
It's just
I'm always so excited when the hors d'oeuvres come around. It's like
it's
I'm
the best
giddy.
part.
It's the best part.
Yeah, it's equivalent to having a drink. It's like this is going to take the edge off.
I know. And it's like a little protein. Like someone, I don't remember which wedding I was at, but someone just had like literal chicken on a skewer. I was like, thank you. I'm like
because you spend
dunking
the
it in
whole day
teriyaki.
getting ready and serving the whole thing. You don't really have a lot of time to eat.
Lunch is always like weird on a wedding day.
Yes, always.
Oh my God, I love a cocktail hour. I just got excited for this wedding.
Love a cocktail hour. Oh, fabulous. Okay, speaking of cocktail hour, what is your signature cocktail or mocktail?
Well, we had both, by the way. My husband doesn't drink, but we did a mocktail, which was so nice because some people, you never know why someone might not want.
Of course.
There's a lot of pregnant people. It's like,
of course.
I think it's nice to have an option outside of water.
Yes.
But for me, I would like a dirty martini, please.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Ooh.
Or an espresso martini. Or a
such a
Cosmo.
classic
Or a
girl.
lemon drop.
Oh my God. I love it. I could see it. I could see you just bopping around with your martini.
Martinis look good. The wedding that we just went to, they had a martini bar. So they had espresso, dirty, and straight up, just like ready to go.
Such a good idea.
Also, a good tip is just like have your people making the specialty cocktails so you can just, and they're ready to grab.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
it was so fun when we saw espresso martinis when we walked in.
Oh my God, nothing better.
Nothing
There's
better.
nothing better. Okay, if you could invite any living dream guest to your wedding, who would you invite?
This is really hard because it's like I want to be like Taylor Swift,
course.
but I think if she was there, I would have an absolute meltdown and I wouldn't enjoy myself.
Right.
I posed this question to a friend, and they were like, "Can I swap out the groom?" Like I'd like Robert Pattinson there, but he's the groom.
Oh, gorgeous.
I don't know. It's like, am I asking them as just a good time on the dance floor, or is it like I can ask Norah Jones to perform?
Oh, either.
Okay, well then I would like Norah Jones to. I'd like to wheel out a piano and she comes out and it's like, oh my God,
That would be sick.
she does a little. Don't know why. People are freaking out.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. I just listened to a duet of her and Ray Charles. Oh my God. Just chills.
Talk about cozy vibes.
Cozy vibes.
Put on that first album when you're wedding planning. You don't have a problem anymore.
Oh my
You're
God.
like, I've got this. It's 2002 and nothing is wrong.
Okay, Shannon, and last question that I have for you today is, what is one practical piece of advice that you could impart to any couple planning their wedding?
I was just like, have fun with it.
I'd be like,
Have fun. It's
have
going to go
fun.
by so fast. Know yourself. If you get those moments where something is a tradition or something that you feel like you're kind of shoehorning in and it's not ringing true with you, like take that as a sign that it's not going to feel good on the day either. Know yourself. Take the time to learn really listen to your gut.
Yeah.
It's going to serve you so well. And let money be important. Don't let it define everything. And have fun with it.
Have fun with it, bitches. Just have fun. Shannon, you are a doll, baby. Tell everyone where they can find you. We're going to link it in the show notes as well.
You can find me on Instagram, shannon.d.lang. That is now also my TikTok handle. I recently swapped over from Shan's TikTok. And my Substack is really fun. It's called Let's Party. You can search my name on Substack, but it's the magazine that I'm the CEO of my own magazine over there.
I look
and
forward
send
to
me your weddings if you have a good one. I'm actually looking. Well, I guess it'll be a little bit later, but send me your weddings because I'm doing one a month over there.
Amazing. You might be featured.
You could be featured.
Yes, reach out to Shannon. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Shannon, for
Thank you.
being
This
here.
was really fun.
Oh. Thanks for tuning into the Pre Nup. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform or on the Love Stories TV YouTube channel. Follow at _pre_nup and at Love Stories TV on Instagram for more. Have feedback or suggestions for the next episode? Feel free to reach out to us at podcasts@lovestoriestv.com.